Hey, let's have a look at this, shall we? Because this is following on from a story we talked about last night. Chippy was on breakfast this morning, and I'll tell you something, Chewie. Chippy and Chewie. We were talking last night about the Erica Stanford emailing thing, and we threw a few ideas out there. This is worse today than it was yesterday because we have information. In this conversation with Chippy, we find out that there has been no issue with printing. All of those problems got sorted out. Everything is now mobile. And when Luxon says ministers of the past have done this, Chippy says that is the case, but it was when all these available everywhere onlines weren't in place. Now they are. So actually it is different today of sending your emails to your Gmail account for printing. Yes, that did happen occasionally back then, but that was when there was a different system that you couldn't have everything with you. It was on your tablet, it's on your phone, it's on your laptop, it's on your computer. It's like that now. It wasn't like that when they used to send emails to their Gmails occasionally. So let's have a listen to what Chippy said this morning on breakfast about the whole Erica Stanford email debacle.
One user's seen hundreds of pages of documents and emails sent via Erica Stanford's Gmail account. Should the Prime Minister be so laid back about this?
No, the Prime Minister shouldn't be laid back about this. The Cabinet rules are very clear. Ministers shouldn't use personal email accounts for work-related reasons, particularly not exchanging sensitive information. All of Parliament's IT systems have been updated, so they're now fully mobile. Those technical issues that...
So this is what he's saying. This issue of the printing doesn't exist anymore. So Chewie, when you were saying last night, let's have some grace, it could be 2 weeks, like that's all been done. Now, if she had an issue, not saying she didn't have an issue, but that whole kind of big organised side of things has been done. So I said last night it didn't feel like it held water to me. I think Chippy's kind of confirming this morning with what it sounds like their setup is now, that excuse doesn't hold water.
Been updated, so they're now fully mobile. Those technical issues that ministers previously encountered aren't there anymore. They can print anywhere, they can take their devices anywhere, and the government's own security agencies have said that there are people particularly from overseas, trying to hack into our systems all of the time, using personal email accounts like Gmail, which aren't secure, like hanging up a great big welcome sign to them. So I think the Prime Minister needs to do a lot more.
So you're not buying the technical and printing excuse?
No, absolutely not. The systems have all been upgraded. Parliament was moved on to Office 365, which gives us the ability to take our devices anywhere, access all of our files anywhere, access printers anywhere. There's no good reason for that. People can access their material on their phones, on their iPads, on their laptops. There's just no reason for doing this. Previously, if you go back 10, 15 years, ministers were doing that because there weren't alternatives. There now are alternatives, and a lot of money has been spent on making them secure. Because as I said, we're constantly being told that there are people from overseas.
So this is really important, Chewie. The ministers, the MPs, the government employees are being told by I guess it's cybersecurity at Parliament, you have to be secure. We are under constant attack. Constant. So that therefore means when the Prime Minister goes, no, I'm relaxed about it, he's either saying one of two things. He's either saying we're not under constant attack because it doesn't matter, right? Or we are and he doesn't care. Because if they're being told by security, you have to be secure, we're under constant attack, and the Prime Minister's like, no, I don't care if she sends it to an insecure server, then that's a bigger problem. That's what I was saying. There's more information this morning.
There are people from overseas, foreign interference is a big issue where they're trying to hack into our systems, they're trying to access our information. Using private email accounts that aren't secured is like ministers flinging the door open and saying, here, come on in.
It's not the first time we've seen ministers using personal email accounts getting in hot water. Labor experiencing something similar. In 2018, Claire Curran was stripped of her digital services portfolio. You also said then that you had sent work emails to your personal account. What's different this time around?
Well, I think there are two things there. One is that all the rules have all changed and the technology has all been updated since then. I was the minister, the Prime Minister, that signed off the change to the Cabinet rules around the use of personal email accounts to stop it. But we upgraded all of the systems so it isn't necessary anymore. Claire Curran ultimately lost her job because of the way that she had used her personal email accounts and so on. And so the fact that the Prime Minister is now brushing it off and saying, oh, well, you know, there seems to be a lower standard for his ministers in every regard. He doesn't seem to be following the Cabinet manual. He doesn't seem to care what his ministers get up to. You've got Winston Peters running around the world slagging him off, and he doesn't seem to want to do anything about that. You've got David Seymour slagging off judges, doesn't seem to want to do anything about that. You've got ministers using their personal email accounts when they're being told clearly they shouldn't be doing that, doesn't seem to want to do anything about that. Anything goes under Christopher Luxon's leadership.
There you go, Chewie. Have at it, sir. Any thoughts? I've got one more clip to
Yeah,
play. That's
look,
so far.
Really good points from Chippy
Yeah.
there. This is exactly what we said last night, which is obviously great sound bites to take into an interview the next day.
So you're saying Chippy's been watching? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, big fan of the show. The other part of the story, rather than everybody sort of rallying around and going, well, you know, I make sure that my communications are secure. It seems we've had a lot more members of the government go, well, actually, I do the same thing because apparently I'm a mouth-breathing idiot that doesn't care about online security as well. The Bish has jumped into the fray and gone, well, this is just something that happens and we do. Like, I don't think a race to go, I'm just as stupid as Erica Stanford is the way to go. Like, I think this is a real concern. I don't understand why everybody is so fucking chill about this. With the sort of business that government MPs deal with, it can be sensitive, it can be confidential, it can even be classified. Like this whole thing, everybody just being super relaxed about it, would get you fired in most businesses.
Yeah, it's it reminded me somewhat of, not to evoke the we shall not say it name, but the COVID era, when we were having all those breaches at the, like we were getting people kind of breaching security and breaking out of places, and but it never got through. It was like, so it was good management and it was dumb luck. It's like an insurance policy. People talk to me about insurance. So why would one have insurance? And I go, insurance is the biggest waste of money you'll ever spend until you need it. Then it's the best money you've ever spent. Now, it's a bit like that, you know. These guys might all be getting away with it. They might be breaking out of COVID, might be breaking out of the hotel, and there might be no repercussions from that until there is. And that one time, Chewie, maybe it is something to do with the budget. And maybe that means if someone had that information, they could do something in the stock market. And maybe that means they could do some, you know, it wouldn't be insider trading unless the MP was involved. But if it was not like secret, but maybe classified information about some upcoming decisions involving the economy, it could make a difference that someone might make a decision financially somewhere. You know, it's just not okay. And because, as far as we know, there hasn't been any downstream effects yet, there may be tomorrow. You know, just because you've never had a crash, even though you wear your seatbelt every time, if you choose not to wear it tomorrow, you might have a head on. You know, you do it all the time. And I'm just a bit, I don't think anyone buys this, no, I'm chill about it, from the Prime Minister. I think we can see through that. I think we can see the CEO going, well, you know, the product that we sell is still as good as it's ever been, even though it's had a recall 73 times, Cybertruck. It's still as good as it's ever been. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing the CEO try and say that his product is as good as it's ever been. And I'm sorry, two things. It's not, and we're not a company. It's not how you deliver KPIs for a country.
Yeah.
A very quick one here. Chippy, it's only 38 seconds. He gets asked, should there be a punishment? And I was thinking, I mean, I don't really care if Chippy talks about it, should there be or shouldn't there be, but let's have a look what he said is, like, what should happen to Erica Stanford now? And I think he does make the point about who's right, Luxon or the security agency.
So what's the punishment for Erica Stanford, do you think?
Well, I think at the very least, the Prime Minister should say that it's not acceptable. He seems to be saying, oh, it doesn't really matter. It does matter. His own security agencies have been going to great lengths to tell people this is exactly the sort of thing that must stop. It must not be happening because it leaves the door wide open to more significant security risks. So, either he's saying the security agencies are wrong, or he's got to accept that Erica Stanford is wrong.
I think we don't need to add any more to that. That's pretty clear.
No.
Sorry, you did want to add to it? I apologise.
No. I'm saying no. It's very succinct.
Chippy was on fire a bit this morning. Second part of the conversation, he was talking about Trump and the tariffs. I do think it's not a beat up by anyone here. I can't ever imagine how they're going to put tariffs on. In fact, I was listening to an American commentator today who was talking about the made up things that Trump says, like how would you put tariffs on movies? But I guess as the people who the tariffs would be impacting, should they be there, we do need to respond. And Chippy had some things to say about Christopher Luxon's response in general, and particularly about the tariff threat to international movies.
Let's move on to Donald Trump and new tariffs that he's looking at imposing, potentially on in the name of Hollywood movies, trying to make Hollywood great again. How concerned are you about potential tariffs, 100% tariffs on movies made outside the US, considering we've got such generous rebate here for movies being made in New Zealand?
Oh, let's be clear. Tariffs of that magnitude on the New Zealand's film industry would be an absolute disaster for New Zealand. And I think our government should do everything it can to speak vocally against it and to fight against it. It would affect thousands of New Zealand jobs. It would affect hundreds of millions of dollars of income for our country that we get through the film industry. And frankly, it's just totally unacceptable. If America is whacking big tariffs on because they can't make their own film industry profitable, then that's a problem for them. It's not something they should be punishing the rest of the world who are doing a fantastic job of creating awesome movies that people want to watch.
Of course, National Hat will have other priorities today and in the next few days, as we've spoken about already. But how much of a priority should this be?
Oh, this should be a major priority for the government. It's something that affects the livelihood of New Zealanders. What we've seen since Donald Trump started whacking tariffs on right, left and centre has been an absolutely pathetic response from the New Zealand government. They're not willing to stand up for New Zealanders. We're talking about Kiwis' jobs and livelihoods that are being threatened here, and our government doesn't seem to want to do anything about that. I think at the very least we should be vocally saying it's unacceptable. If you look at Australia, the Prime Minister in Australia has spoken out strongly against what Donald Trump's doing. The Canadian election recently was on exactly this issue, where the parties that were supporting Donald Trump got absolutely crushingly defeated, while those who are willing to stand up to him won the election. I think our government needs to do a lot more and say that what Donald Trump is doing is wrong. And, New Zealand's government should stand up for New Zealanders.
I mean, not
there's
too
a
much
problem
to
with that,
argue
Pat.
with there. What's that?
I think Chippy's acting as if our government has a fucking spine and the ability to stand up for any sort of belief structure. They clearly don't have it. Their strategy with Trump is just hopefully he won't notice us. And if he does notice us, that we've never said anything bad about him ever. And so he'll leave us alone, which is such a piss poor, weak plan of action. It fits perfectly with every other piece of foreign policy that they have.
I actually think I read that somewhere. I don't know who had said it, but a politician today has been quoted, but basically saying we've been keeping our head down, or was that maybe a commentator? But that I've seen that out there, but keeping our head down, hoping Trump wouldn't notice us, actually as a tactic.
It's a piss poor tactic, and it's. I mean, you can map that out anywhere. Where is the thing that we are most proud of? That we punch above our weight, that we are much more prominent on the world stage than perhaps our little country tucked away down here by the asshole.
Is it cancelling world class legislation? Is that what it is? We're well known for cancelling the best legislation in the world.
Oh, we'd love to crow about the fact that we gave women the vote first, but here we are over 100 years later going, well, we don't have to pay them. That's a bridge too far. We don't want to do anything or don't believe that we can do anything to take a stand over what's happening in Gaza. And we're just going to tuck tail and hope that probably the most cancerous influence on the world stage today doesn't realize that New Zealand actually exists and is on a map. Like they're not backing our exporters. They're not backing our creators. Like this could potentially cripple what has been quite a successful industry for New Zealand. Like nobody knows how this is going to work. Nobody knows who's whispering in Donald Trump's ear, who's trying to put ideas in the lump of Swiss cheese that's between his ears that he calls his brain. How a tariff on movies would actually work when movies are made by an American production house with special effects done in Wellington, filmed on a London soundstage or somewhere in the Czech fucking Republic. Like, how does it work?
And
he doesn't know. Nobody knows.
And what? Where's the port of entry? That would be where you'd pay your tariff when it gets sent from said studio in Wellington across the interwebs to said studio in Los Angeles.
Yeah, none of it.
But that's why I said last night that I don't think it's a particularly big concern. I think he's just blowing smoke. And to be honest, the way he can go, isn't Gavin Newsom just a loser? His state's become a loser state than anything else.
I think in times of uncertainty like this, it's really important to reach back to someone who's always had good judgment in these troubling times. John Key.
Did you say donkey? Did you say the donkey?
Yeah. Former Prime Minister Sir Donkey says he remains optimistic about Donald Trump's domestic economic policy, despite opposing the tariff strategy that has sent global markets into turmoil in recent months. John Key, who has said before that he would vote for a right-wing dictator over anybody with progressive left-wing policies.
We played it because John Key, right? Sir John Key, former Prime Minister from the right, better at the economy. Sir John Key said we played it. He would vote for Trump because he thought he'd be better for the economy. That's what that man said. He talked about his last term. Remember, we showed you the numbers, how his last term, Trump's last term, was historically bad compared to other presidents. And he said that he would voted for him because he thinks he's better for the economy. And look what he's done. He's taken an economy which was the envy of the world. Don't believe what they're saying to you on Fox News. The American economy under Biden at the end was the envy of the world because they killed so many people with COVID. What that meant is they came out of that slump quicker. So they were the envy of the world, and it's taken them 100 days to get on the edge of recession. 100 days from the envy of the world to the edge of recession. Trump, 2028.
Look at that last paragraph. Last October, Sir John suggested a belief that the Republican Trump was a better on balance for the US economy than the Democratic opponent Kamala Harris. Really? You think that, do you? Even then, he expressed concerns about Trump's tariff approach. China won't pay those tariffs. Exactly. He knows all of this and is still carrying water for this gold-plated baboon. The next article that includes John Key, the first paragraph would be, so you have been wrong about everything. What would you like to be wrong about in this article?
Yeah, let's take some stock tips from John Key. He'll say, don't buy this one and we should buy that. And he said, this is the one I suggest and stay away from that. That's actually, you'll probably get quite rich with that because he knows the economy, obviously.
Was he given a knighthood for services to being a dingus?
I think so.
I could understand that.